Hi everyone, this is Extra Tricky, and I'm here today to talk about a method to use arbitrary code execution in the Generation 1 games in order to transfer a high quantity of level 100 Pokemon to your Generation 7 games. This is very useful for acquiring Dittos, since Generation 1 transfers always have at least 3 perfect IVs. And as you'll see, you'll be able to get 4 IV or 5 ID Dittos much faster than, for example, SOS chaining in Pokemon Sun Moon. So I'm going to be playing on the blue version for the Virtual Console release. This will work on red version as well, although you will need to get a few more coins in the games corner, as you'll see later on. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clear my data, and that is just there as a safety precaution. It generally doesn't matter, but I've had reports of sometimes the arbitrary code execution has problems, and this is probably due to people having corrupted save files before starting a new game. But we're going to start from the beginning no matter what, so it's just there as a quick safety precaution. When we start the game, your trainer ID is something that you're going to pick. I'm going to pick Tricky with an exclamation mark. I think it's a nice name to use to have on the OT with my transfers. But you can pick any name you want here. It will show up as your OT, and this is just there for what you want. The rival name, we want to name 2 characters. This is so that we don't, this is to reduce a bit of annoyance later on. The rival name will never show up, except as part of a glitch, where a 1-character rival name or a preset rival name will both cause some annoyance. So next, get the potion from the PC. This is going to be useful because we want to win the rival fight. The rival fight gives us a good amount of experience. And it's relatively inconsistent to win the rival fight at the beginning of the game if you don't have that potion. But anyway, we'll go talk to Professor Oak, and when we finally get the chance to pick our starter, we'll pick Bulbasaur. So while I'm waiting for this cutscene to play out, I want to mention that if you've heard of arbitrary code execution in the Generation 1 Pokemon games, you're probably familiar with it in the context of the 8F glitch item. And if you've looked into it, the setups required for getting 8F and for setting up the program and everything, they're quite time-consuming. And, people report multiple hours, and it gives the impression that arbitrary code execution is this inherently difficult task that is pretty much impractical. Getting Dittos or whatever will take multiple hours, and at that point, you might be thinking, why would I do this? But this setup is actually quite quick, and as you'll see, I'll be able to get through the entire setup in about half an hour, and then populate a box of Dittos for transfer in about 4 minutes. Or 4 minutes including the actual transfer time, actually. So, overall, this is, getting 20 Dittos transferred is going to be faster than even just chaining 1 Ditto via SOS chaining. So definitely worth it in my mind. Here for the rival fight, Charmander's Scratch will do 4 damage, and if he crits, it'll do 5 damage. So if you get down to 4 HP or 5 HP, then you'll want to use your potion, but typically that won't happen. He can use either Scratch or Growl, both will happen equally often, and Growl will also fail 25% of the time that he uses it. So you're actually very favored. It is possible to actually lose that fight, even with using the potion, and if that happens to you, I fully empathize. It is one of the worst feelings, but luckily you've only spent, a few minutes playing so far, so you can just start from the beginning again, and it's no problem. If you're really paranoid, you can save before the rival fight, but honestly, it's not worth it. Now, when you're going through Route 1, it's very important that you don't kill any encounters. We need to get Bulbasaur to level 7, in order for it to learn Leech Seed, because in Generation 1 games, if you skip over a level, then you'd skip all of the you skip over any moves that you would learn on those levels as well. So if you kill even one encounter on Route 1, when we fight the Weedle, the level 9 Weedle in the forest, that'll give us enough experience. That would give us enough experience to hit level 8. And skipping over level 7, we wouldn't learn Leech Seed. And having Leech Seed is very important for a glitch that we're going to perform later on. So, you know, it shouldn't be any problem. Just run away from any encounters that you come across. And for the most part, you want to avoid the grass. Now we've got another reasonably long cutscene. And, you know, it's... Pokemon is full of things like this, where even for the quick setups, you still do sometimes have these boring sections. So once you finally get past Route 1, you'll want to just walk straight to Viridian Forest. We don't need anything else from Viridian City. Again, in Viridian Forest, you want to make sure to not kill any encounters. And we're going to walk straight to the level 9 Weedle. Now, I'm going to be taking some pretty particular path through the grass, and this is just because some of the tiles that look like grass tiles don't actually generate any encounters, and so this will give you, this will generally be the fastest path to get to the level 9 Weedle fight. Along the way, we're going to pick up this antidote, but yeah, so you can follow this path. It's not a big deal if you don't. The important thing is you don't fight any encounters, don't fight any trainers, any extra trainers, and get to the level 9 Weedle fight as is. Now, there's also a hidden potion right in front of the trainer, and we'll pick that up. It's not really necessary if you didn't use the potion in the rival fight, but you can just go ahead and pick it up anyway. There is a chance that you'll want to use the potion on the Weedle fight, and so you want to have at least one potion just for safety. But if you end up using all your potions, you can buy another one in Pewter City, and that will be completely fine. So for this Weedle fight, we'll growl it once, and then use Tackle. We need to, for the setup in this glitch, we're going to be using a lot of, we need to use a lot of tackles anyway, so it's not a problem if the fight takes a long time. After a growl, Weedle's Poison Stings will be doing 2 HP, but if he does get a critical hit, it will do 6 damage. So you want to potion if you get to 6 health or below just for safety. It's very unlikely that you would ever need to use 2 potions, since this Weedle can, you know, either Poison Sting or String Shot, and String Shot of course doesn't do any damage. And Poison Sting will typically do only 2 damage. So you'll see here that I will end up using my potion, but it's pretty much, it's very, very rare that you would ever need to use 2 potions. And once again, if you do use all your potions, you'll just want to buy another one in Pewter City. But for this run, I'll be fine to, I'll still have a potion after this fight, and so we'll just go with that one that we have. So once we kill the Weedle, Bulbasaur will level up to level 7 and learn Leech Seed. And like I said, this is very important. So now we're going to do the setup for the first glitch, which is called Brock Through Walls. And the setup that we need is we need a move that has 16 PP remaining in slot 2 and 36 PP remaining in slot 3. So we got Leech Seed in order to have 3 moves in the first place. And then Tackle we can set up our PP so that we have 16 tackles and so that we have 36 growls. Unfortunately, I'm having bad luck getting an encounter here, but you'll tend to want to spend PP on things like Kakuna and Metapod. So here I got a Metapod, and I will just tackle until it dies. We do want to kill one more Pokemon here because we need Bulbasaur to be level 8 now. So we needed him to be level 7 in order to get Leech Seed, and now we need him to be level 8 for the glitch that is coming up. Again, don't worry if killing a Metapod takes a really long time. We need to spend those tackles anyway. We need to get down to 16 tackle PP. So here I realized that I was going to not have enough tackles to actually kill the Metapod, so I used the Leech Seed there to kill the Metapod without using any more tackles. And here is when I switched the move so that I switched Tackle over to slot 2, Growl over to slot 3, and then start using Growl. Unfortunately, Growl's not down to 36 yet, so I will need to find another encounter, but that's not too bad. You just walk in the grass until you find another encounter. And the amount of Leech Seed PP that you have left doesn't matter at all. So if you do, if you find yourself needing to Leech Seed, but you've already used all your tackles and all your growls that you can afford, then just keep using Leech Seed, and it'll, it won't do anything, but it'll pass the turn and allow you to drain health. So now I've got the 16 tackles and the 36 growls, so I can run away from the Metapod. And we're going to move on. Now, before we actually do the glitch, we're going to go into the mart and buy a Pokeball, a Burn Heal, and an Escape Rope. And now, which 3 items this isn't hugely important. This is mainly set up just to make the menu work nicely, because when we go down and buy the Burn Heal, the cursor will reset right back up to Escape Rope. And now, while we're leaving the shop, we're going to open the start menu and put the cursor over save. And this is important because when we go do this glitch, so the way we activate this glitch is after this guy says follow me, you press B to clear it and then hold start, and it should pop up your start menu. Now in that start menu, you can't actually move up and down, but you can select the currently selected item. So we prepare by putting the cursor over save beforehand, so that we can save the game in the middle of this guy's dialogue, and this allows us to get past him. This is called Brock Skip, and it's a fairly well-known glitch that's been known for a while. Now, the second part, which is Brock Through Walls, is going to allow us to walk through walls. So, there, we walked to the right in order to reload the youngster's position, opened the Pokemon menu, closed the Pokemon menu again, and then talk to him from the right. Now, the game doesn't know what to do when you talk to him from the right because you normally can't. You can't get there without using the Brock Skip glitch. So, in this case, we set it up so that it would give us a path that allows us to walk through walls. Now, while you're doing this, you're going to want to be holding B the whole time, because if you don't hold B, the start menu will continually pop up. And also, you're going to need to be careful to not walk out of bounds. So if you follow the path exactly that I'm walking right now, you'll be fine. But mainly just make sure that you don't walk out of bounds. If you do walk out of bounds and crash the game, you did make a save right away. I have had the Virtual Console delete a save file even when I crashed the game once. Usually that doesn't happen, so you should normally be able to just restart and reload the save file at Rockscape and just try again. Once you get to Saffron City, you're going to want to enter the Pokemon Center and take the center. This is important because we're going to be teleporting here later on. And now we're going to go walk to Celadon City and buy the Abra from Game Corner. This guard is thirsty, but even though the road's closed, we can walk to Celadon City. It's a one-way passage. You can walk from Saffron out, you just can't walk into Saffron. But that's okay, we'll be picking up an Abra, and that'll allow us to teleport back to Saffron instead. So the first order of business is to get the coin case. That's just a matter of talking to this NPC right here, as normal. Then we're going to go into the game's corner and pick up 120 coins. If you're on red version, Abra costs 180 coins instead, so you'll need to find some more. But in blue version, you can just go ahead and pick up a hidden 100 coins on this tile, and you can talk to the NPC that's right here for another 20. Perfectly gets you 120. And now, once we have the Abra, we teleport back to Saffron City. And we're going to deposit the Bulbasaur. This is mainly a time-saving procedure. If you keep Bulbasaur in the party, it's completely fine. We need to lose to a trainer later on, though, and it'll take a little bit longer in that case if we have Bulbasaur there. So now, our goal here is to get 255 of an item. And we're going to do this by duplicating the item using Missing Nose. Now, you're probably familiar with getting Missing Note on Cinnabar Coast, but this is a much faster method. So we set up a trainer flag here, and the way you do this is you walk from the right to the tile where the trainer sees you, right as he comes on screen, and you hold start during that step. By holding start, when the trainer comes on screen, it'll pop open the menu first, and you can teleport away. This is what's, this is the essential component of what's typically known as the Mew glitch. Often people do it in Cerulean City, but in this case we're going to fight this trainer right here in the dojo, who will give us a Missing No instead. Now this trainer of course has a Machop that is super high level. All we care about is just dying to him. The Machop is the Pokemon that we need to face. So I'll just use Teleport. Ideally he doesn't use Leer, and he just kills us, but you know, it goes pretty quick either way. Now, whenever you faint after this battle, you want to make sure that you open the start menu at least once before attempting to get the Missing No encounter. So here I went ahead and used the start menu that I needed to do anyway to swap Escape Rope into slot 6. As you probably know, when you encounter a Missing Note, the item that gets duplicated is the item in the 6th slot of your inventory. So that's why we bought those items in Pewter City, so that we would have 6 items right now. Once we encounter the Missing Note, we just go ahead and run away, and we set up another Trainer Fly and do it all again. This time, what you'll see is when I open the start menu that required time, I'm going to toss 2 of the escape ropes so that we go down from 129, which is what we have right now, down to 127. And then when we encounter Missing Note, I'll add another 128 to that, getting us up to 255. So once again, we're going to die to this trainer. And we're going to open our menu, and like I said, we're going to toss 2 escape ropes here down to 127, and then encounter another Missing No. When we find the missing node, once again, just run away. And this time we're going to walk over to Celadon City to do some shopping. But before we do that, we're going to want to swap the escape ropes, the 255 escape ropes that we have, into slot 3 of our inventory. Alright, so now for shopping, the first thing we want to do is sell off a few items. So we'll sell the potion and the antidote and then 255 escape ropes. And you'll notice that the escape rope stacks have been duplicated. And then we sold 255 escape ropes for a lot of money. Then we'll buy TMO2, and we'll buy a Great Ball, a Super Potion, and an Awakening here. And these items are all very particular. Make sure you get the correct items. These items are going to end up being part of the code that we're going to execute to acquire all the Pokemon. Now, once we're done with the second floor, we go to the 4th floor and buy a Firestone. After the 4th floor, we go to the rooftop and get a Lemonade from the vending machine. Then we go back to the 5th floor, and we get an HP up and a Carbos from the right cashier. And from the left cashier, we get an X Special. And that's everything that we'll need. So now that we're done shopping, we'll take the elevator down and teleport back to Saffron City. Now, at this point, we're going to activate the next glitch, which is called Item Underflow. And this will allow us to this gives us a lot of power, but it won't quite be enough to get arbitrary code, and we'll need to do a little bit more setup for arbitrary code execution, to set up all the code that we need. So, in order to activate Item Underflow, what we'll do is we'll toss the top escape rope stack 11 times. We've got 12 items in our inventory total, so by tossing it 11 times, it reduces our item count down to 1, but it doesn't actually change what the items look like here. So you'll want to count up to 11. You can save before doing this menu if you're worried about messing it up, but it's not too difficult to count to 11, of course. Once you've counted to 11, you want to toss 253, and then swap the first 2 slots, and swap the first 2 slots again. Now you've got escape rope times 0, and you can scroll down past your inventory. Here I'm going to do an optional step, which is come down here and find the slot that ends in 9, and toss 1 from that. That will change the text speed from 1 character. Normally the text speed on fast is 1 frame per character. By tossing 1, you reduce it to 0 frames per character, so text boxes will display instantly. It's just a little bit of a time save. It doesn't really, it's not really important for the glitch. Now here, what we're doing is we're going to mutate the item quantities. So we're going to swap down each item that we have 1 of into this slot below HMO 5, and then walk up 1 tile. And in doing that, that times 1 will go to a times 0. And times 0 effectively acts as 256. So, we could have used Missing Node to get more of these items, and we're going to need a lot of these items. But this is much quicker than getting more Missing Nodes, more Missing Node encounters. So we'll just swap back and forth and take 1 step up in between each one until we have 0 of all the items that we just bought. Now, if you're wondering why we made the rival, why we were so insistent that the rival's name be 2 characters long. This is the part where it is. If we had a 1 character long rival name, then while we were scrolling down to this slot right below the HM05, then we would have what we call a click item, where we have to press B a few times to scroll past it, and it's just annoying. It's also worth making sure that you're in this column when you're doing this mutation, just to make sure that your your queue is the same, and the inventory is the same as what I have here. It's also important that you do this outside, because you might be noticing that the map gets a little bit wonky, and it makes it so that you can't really enter doors and everything. But by doing it outside, we'll be able to teleport, and this will repair the map as normal. So once we have done everything, we will swap back with the Ultra Balls, since we don't need those Ultra Balls that we fetched from originally. Then we teleport to the center, walk back in, and now we're going to set up the actual code. So if you look in the video description, I have the quantities of all the items that you need, and order that you need for this here, and it's just a matter of swapping around the items and tossing the correct numbers. If you're worried about messing up, you can just you can save beforehand, and that's no problem. If you do mess up, you can also toss down to 1 item. As long as you didn't actually get rid of the stack, you can toss all but 1 of the items, and then do the quantity mutation again to change that 1 to a 0, and you'll be able to repair it. No real problem. So we're going to toss 45 HP ups. We're going to toss all but 8 escape ropes. For Carbos, this is where you put in the species that you want, so I'm going to be getting Dittos, so I want to have 76 Carbos remaining, which means I'm going to be tossing 180. Now, unfortunately, when you toss more than 100, there's, you can look at the symbols, and, they are different symbols, so you can match up with the video which one you want, but, the queue is basically just to count as you're mashing. Unfortunately, there's no good way, really, to toss these large quantities of items. You can go down from the top, but you might be less comfortable counting that way. For the Awakening stack, this is where you put the level you want, so here I'm going to just toss 156 so that we end up with level 100 Dittos. But for all these items, other than Carbos and Awakening, you want to make sure that you have the quantity exactly right, or else the code will not work properly. Alright, and then the last one that we toss is 45 Firestones, and this is actually the item that we're going to swap into the underflow area in order to tell the game to execute the items that we just set up. So what we'll do is we'll swap it down to the slot that is coin times 85, and there will be a click item in the way, so when the inventory stops scrolling, just press B. You should have to press B 4 times total, but you want to press them slowly in order to not accidentally close the menu. Now, as you might have seen when I talked to Nurse Joy, she gives me a Ditto. And then I decided to go withdraw the Bulbasaur because I don't want Bulbasaur in my PC since I'm gonna, you transfer box 1 when you do use Poké Transporter. So you want to just, so I didn't want to transfer Bulbasaur, so I just wanted Ditto. So I took Bulbasaur out of the PC, and we can get more Dittos. Using the PC is safe, but if you're going to leave the center for any reason, you want to swap those Firestones back with the Coin X85 so that you have them available. When you get back to the center, you can swap them in again to talk to Nurse Joy. Whenever you load a new map, that item slot will get overwritten, so don't want to lose your stack of Firestones. That's very important. And one thing that's very nice about this setup is that you can, if you want to get a different species of Pokemon, you can just change that Carbos number. And, if you need to increase it, you just toss down to 1, mutate that 1 into 0 again, just like we did before, and then toss however many you need. And Glitch City has a very nice web page that lists all the index numbers of the species that you want. So you might be familiar, for example, that Mew is 21. Now, unfortunately, this setup will not be able to transfer Mews because Pokemon Bank does some extra checks for Mews that it doesn't do for other Pokemon. But once you have the full box, you can just go to Poké Transporter and, transfer your 20 Dittos or whatever Pokemon. This is great for getting, the legendaries like Mewtwo or Zapdos. You can get those hidden abilities very easily. And yeah. So like I said, this will take about 4 minutes to populate a box and transfer it over. And then, so you can, you're getting 20 Dittos every 4 minutes, which is an extremely fast rate. In fact, typically the most annoying stage of this for me, personally, is releasing all the Dittos that I don't want. Because unfortunately, when you transfer Dittos, the IVs are random. That you'll guaranteed have at least 3 perfect IVs, but the other ones are random, and so you're going to need to transfer a lot of Dittos if you want to find that 5 IV. So here, when I transfer, one nice little trick that a lot of people don't know in Pokemon Bank is when if you want to move a lot of Pokemon at once, what you can do is you can hit the select button twice and it'll turn your cursor green. And that'll allow you to select a box of Pokemon and then move them all at once. So that's how I'll move everything from the transport box over to box 1. Or to bank 1. And typically what I like to do is I like to get 10 boxes at once and then check them all for good stats. But here I'm just showing off that here we see a bunch of 132s. 132 is, the stat that Ditto has for perfect IVs other than HP, and 237 is perfect HP. So you see, we got a good number. We got a few 4 IV Dittos here, even though we only transferred 20. It's going to be fairly common to get 4 IVs. 5 IVs take a while to get. I had to transfer about 400 before I got my first one. And then 6 IV will take, 32,000 on average. But it's definitely, 32,000 at 20 in 4 minutes is still probably faster than you're going to get 6 IV Dittos with most other methods. And this is not particularly difficult. And once you've transferred your box, you can just go back into Pokemon Blue and just keep talking to Nurse Joy, and then save the game after getting 20 more, and go to Poké Transporter. So that is how you farm any Pokemon that you want from Gen 1 for quick transfers to Generation 7. Thanks everyone for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, I would I hope you you share it with some of your friends and spread the word.